What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And I wanted to talk to you today about a movie me and my wife just got lucky enough to watch an early screener for. I think the movie's out tomorrow on iTunes. And it's called Ressurection of Jake the Snake. And this movie really hit me very closely personally as someone who struggled with obesity, but obesity as a product of addiction. I think anybody that's a fan of wrestling is going to enjoy this movie, obviously, but I think anybody who has ever struggled with addiction or struggled with somebody who deals with addiction can learn a lot from watching this film, and I want to talk about that. I'll try to be mostly spoiler-free for those of you who want to watch this video and then maybe watch the movie later, though. Now, before I say another word about the movie, I want to say, for the sake of disclosure, this movie stars somebody I'm close to, not Jake, but Diamond Dallas Page, who's very instrumental in this film, and he's a friend ever since I met him about a year and a half ago. Also, it's directed by Stephen Yu, who's somebody I consider a friend, so obviously I have a personal tie to this, and I wanted you to know that up front. So for those of you who follow me, you'll know that about a year and a half ago, I met a professional wrestler, now retired, Diamond Dallas Page. He's a fantastic person. He's one of the most incredible people I've ever met. He decided to come to Northwest Arkansas to try to save my life, and I'll tell you absolutely that he did. I know a lot of people look at me and they're like, Boogie, you're still a fat piece of shit. You're still falling apart. You're going to be in the grave in the next 5 years. And that's probably still true. But what he did do is, number one, he taught me an exercise regimen that got my lower back to where I can actually walk again. And I can't walk long distances. I'm not walking miles at a time, but I'm able to actually move around my own house, which is something I couldn't do very well before I met DDP. The second thing he did was got me on an eating regimen, eating healthier foods, organic foods, and things along that lines that kept me from gaining. He taught me how to eat better, and for the first time in my life, I stopped gaining, started stabilizing, and even lost some from the time since I've met him. And if it wasn't for Diamond Dallas Page, I would not have been able to do those things. But Dally has actually been involved in my life pretty much whenever I needed him. I've always been able to call him when I was having a weak moment. He's been there for me to help me keep my shit together, and he's one of the best fucking people I've ever met. Now, Dallas has done this for dozens and dozens of people, and I've talked to a lot of fat guys, many people who are now former fat guys who I'm in contact with that I met because of Dallas, and these people have also been very, very helpful in my life. But Dallas has not just worked with overweight people. Dallas has worked with drug addicts, alcoholics, people struggling with addictions to things other than food. And two of the most notable people that he's worked with is Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall, who was Razor Ramon when he wrestled. Now, going into this movie, I had heard the story of Jake the Snake's recovery from Dallas himself. And I'd heard how he was working with Scott Hall as well. And I heard some intimate details, obviously, you would not find on their YouTube channel or anywhere else. But that does not compare to actually seeing it in the film, because when you see Scott Hall in a wheelchair, like, that's crazy. And you see Jake the Snake so out of shape that even though he weighed 200 pounds less than me at the time, he wasn't able to take a knee, which is something I can do. I mean, he was in worse shape when they started this than I was the day I met Dallas Page. And you know, Jake is like one of the most prolific wrestlers, too. I saw him when I was a teenager wrestle Andre the Giant, at Freedom Hall, Tennessee, and it was one of the most defining moments of my childhood. I looked up to that man. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. And to see him in this degraded state where he is like physically and mentally and emotionally a slave to his addiction, it's really, really shocking. As the son of an alcoholic, to see someone at that stage of alcoholism is terrifying to me, because it reminds me of my dad just before he had his stroke and it ruined his mind. As the son of a pill addict, to see the same person taking all of those drugs, some legal, some illicit, also was just heart-wrecking, especially when it's somebody that you still look up to even to this day. And the movie goes on to tell a tale as old as time itself, showing that Jake the Snake was the son of abusers who abused him either mentally or physically or both. And to see the stuff that he was saying and the stuff that he went through, I could easily relate to this stuff as someone who's addicted to a substance, even though my substance is perfectly legal, and that's food. I think at one point in the movie, he says something to the effect of, one beer helps, but all the beer in the world is not enough. And man, can I relate to that. I mean, obviously, if you pay attention to wrestling anymore, you'll know that near the end of this movie, Jake got something that he desperately wanted, and that was to be inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside all of these incredible wrestlers, and he got that. And but man, the story is much more about the incredibly difficult road that it took them in 18 months to get to that point. And what I got from this movie more than anything, what my wife got from this movie, and what I think anybody who watches it will get from this movie, is that no matter how shitty your circumstances are, it's okay to dream. And it's okay to reach for those dreams, because sometimes if you work hard enough, if you do hard enough, if you have the support structure, if you have the help, you do the work, you will get what you want, even if it sometimes seems impossible. And the way this movie is put together and the story that it tells, man, obviously it's going to appeal to wrestling fans, but I mean, this was a hell of a motivational, beautiful movie. I mean, this is certainly Sundance material. I don't know. I don't think critics or like the industry will take it serious because it's a movie about wrestlers or whatever. But they really, really fucking should. I did get permission from the director, Stephen Yu, to put the trailer for this movie at the end of this video so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. And if you decide you want it, there's a link in the description box below. I don't get anything from it at all. But if you go to the link in the description box below, you can check out the movie on iTunes. If you don't see it there, see it somewhere. See it when it eventually comes to Netflix or wherever it ends up being. I really, really, really think you should, not just as a wrestling fan, but as anybody who's looking for motivation to hold on, or anybody that just wants to see that there are like actual heroes still in the world, like Diamond Dallas Page. So here's the trailer.
I think that's what happens to most people in this world. They work their whole life and then they retire. A lot of retirees don't last long. They have no purpose in life anymore. Didn't you used to be Jake the Snake Roberts, man? What happened to you?
You're a sick man, Robert.
Oh, that's true, I am. At least you know that. All these things that happened to me as a kid, they make you who you are.
Yo, Jake. We haven't heard from you in a while. Give me a call. A month ago you did crack, man.
How often do you feel like you fight the addiction?
24/7.
Before anyone can actually help you, I think you gotta be ready to help yourself.
It's not a choice, man. When the cravings hit you, it's on.
I'm right here. This is the beginning.
And I can't change what I did. I don't want to hurt him or me anymore, or anybody else who cares about me.
Our dad is changing.
He tapped me on the chest. He said, son, I want more time. I want more time with you.
Nobody believes it's gonna happen.
All I can do is change what I'm going to do tomorrow.
So what do you really want?
I want to be free.
I know it's gonna be tough. Today. And then we'll get to tomorrow and we'll say it again. If you want to stay with us, you don't drink ever again in the presence of us, period. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I just had both my boys tell me they were proud of me.
You keep seeing that light, no matter how dark it gets, you keep seeing that little light and you strive to the light.
Never underestimate the power you give someone by believing in them.